Nathan Cruz with Carlson Software, and in this next video in the Carlson Precision 3D Topo 2016 video series, I'm going to show you how to work with Carlson tins that have not been colorized by using RoadNet or any of our other Carlson office routines. It's obviously been designed, so we have some nice channels going on here. We have a design pond. Looks like we have a parking lot building site and a driveway style road. And so what I'm going to do is, one, I'm going to texturize this, but I'm also going to use those textures to help uh, isolate and find potential areas where the surface may need to be edited or touched up a little bit before it's actually put out for construction. So what I'm going to do initially is just start with a few texture operations. So I'm going to use our classic just add bison background texture for the surface. As you hover over any of these image names, it's going to, or any of the image thumbnails, it's going to show you what the name of that image is. So I'm going to set that as our initial background texture. And now what I'm going to do is do a little auto texturing commands. So we do default to asphalt. I'm going to change this color to black. That's a good scale for the asphalt though. So what I'm going to do is just pick a few points on the surface where I want the asphalt to show up. Hit apply. Press the right mouse key to get rid of that. And it looks like we have it's like that bled over pretty good. So I don't really like that result very much. So what I'm going to do is do the parking lot independently. So I'm going to do the auto texture command, pick the points around the area that I want to apply, hit A for apply. So I could picked up a little bit of the road anyway. And so what I'm going to do here is just pick up the rest of the road. There we go. Much cleaner. This is no problem here. Essentially what I'm going to do is, since this is on a straight, I'm just going to grip this texture polyline. I'm going to turn my vertex snap. And we're just going to pull this guy right up here. This guy we don't really need, so I'm going to remove it. There we go. If you don't like the look of the polyline outlines, you can turn them off basically by going in and multi-selecting these guys. You can go into the display and you can turn them on and off. I'm not too concerned about that at this point. But what I want to do is continue texturizing. So what I'm going to do next are work on the banks. So I'm going to auto texture these banks. I'm going to use a grass texture. And we'll set that as completely green, I guess. And a texture of 10 works really well with the grass 1 texture. I'm going to turn off my snap so I can pick random points here on the surface. And I'm just going to click on a few of these points. And I'm going to hit apply. That actually did a really good job of identifying all those common slopes around those areas. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a few points in this bank, and I'm going to also turn those into grass. So I got picked up both sides on that grassy bank. And let's see what we can do. Pick up some more grass there. Alright, I think we're pretty much done with our grassy texture. So now we can turn our attention over here to the to this pond. And I think initially I'm going to go with this. I think I've got a pebbles. Texture, and I believe 35 looks pretty good for that. I'm going to change the color to darker outline. I'm going to select that texture, modify that scale a bit. Doesn't look very very good there. So it looks like a texture of 10. That's giving us nice pebbles. Now what I'm going to do is so that gives us our pebble bottom on that. Now what I'm going to do is put a little water on the bottom of this channel. I could also texturize this bottom as grass to simulate a grass swale, or even I guess we could actually just put pebbles in the bottom of these channels as well. So I'm going to select the auto texture command, take this texture scale back down to 10, pick a few points in here and apply. Just done a really nice job of auto texturing our channel with pebbles. We have another small channel here, so I'm going to pick a few more in here and hit apply. It's done a really good job. There may be some anomalies in the texturing routines. It's really very straightforward to modify. So either I can grip and drag this polyline up here, or I can just remove the vertex, and that's going to clean that up very nicely. Let's take a look at what it's done up here, which looks pretty good. This would not be what I would consider a perfect result. So what I'm going to do is remove this vertex and remove this vertex, and I think that looks pretty good. Obviously we've got a little extra one here that we don't need. Perhaps another. We'll just go ahead and pull these guys out as well. And again, if you would rather just follow the points down here, we could turn on our face snap and basically snap to the triangle, to all the surface points or nodes automatically, so you can follow a nice reasonable contour down along in here. It actually looks pretty good, so I'm going to turn off that snap, and I'm just going to remove these extra points. Sometimes you can get a really odd result like we did here. So in this case, I'm going to turn my node snap back on, and pull these vertices up, quickly snapping to those nodes. If you get little anomalies like this that show up, it's not not the end of the world. It's usually fixable by just modifying that polyline just a smidge. So I'm going to turn off this node snap, and I'm going to pick this polyline, and I'm going to grip it off and turn my insertion point snap back on. Snap it perfectly back to that corner. So I've fixed the textures up there pretty well. And again, if you don't like how sharp some of these get, you can see a little bit more detail. It's gone up just a little further than it probably should have. There we go. So that's working with textures. And now what I'm going to show you is a little bit more on our angle and distance snaps. So we have our polyline offset snap of 1 foot. What I'm going to do is measure and I'm going to do my vertex snap here so I can get really close to the, so it looks like our road is exactly 30 feet across. So what I'm going to do is go back to my active snap, and I'm going to set the offset distance to 15 feet, obviously, the center. And I'm going to start the polyline command, and I'm going to switch it to draping mode. And I'm going to make it a yellow polyline. And now I'm going to start picking points. And really, to pick the points even over here in the center, you would think that you would pick out here in the center. But what I want to do is follow along this polyline and create a poly that way. So I'm also going to turn on this vertex snap so I can get right on these even increments. And again, you have to stay close to this polyline in order to get these points. And what I'm going to do is just pick along this polyline. I'm just going to trace it out. Obviously, the more points that I pick, the smoother the arc is going to be. And when we get it nice and straight like this, we just put in a couple more points here. And I'm going to press enter to finish the command. And again, if I wanted to smooth this curve up just a little bit more to show you how some of our more advanced snaps work, I can go ahead and add a vertex here. So that's going to allow me to smooth this curve out a little bit more. And again, if I want this offset at 15 feet, as I start to that's actually a very interesting result. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but just hit Control Z a couple of times and it's completely undone. So again, pretty much anything that you do in Precision 3D, you can undo it, you can redo it. So it's a really good tool for trial and error type of operations. And again, if you wanted to do, put in additional striping or objects, to dress the scene up. So if you wanted to go from essentially pure survey or construction mode and you wanted to dress the scene up a little bit, again, the additional snaps are really handy if you want to insert objects that are along a fixed distance and follow that polyline. So here what I'm doing is I'm going every basically 5 feet so that you get a perfect distance along there for each one of those. So our distance and angle snaps work for drawing polylines and being able to follow other shapes and create geometry that way. And also for object insertion to aid in that placement. So that pretty much wraps up the topics I wanted to cover in more advanced texturing and use of snaps in our polyline and object insertion using our advanced active snap settings.